You're inside the Press Box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your hosts, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Hey, Vero Nation. Thanks for joining us inside the Press Box. I know it's been a little bit of time. We've had a lot going on over the last couple of weeks here, so time to catch up on some things. I'm Paul Tipton along with Gary Paris and GP. 2 games in 5 days. That's one of the reasons why we haven't really been inside the press box, although I think we have been inside the press box for a couple of games. But Fort Pierce Central district game, and then we had Wellington on Friday night, a non-district game. 2 wins for Vero Beach. Good way for the Indians to rebound after the loss to Seminole.
Well, you're right, Paul, and it's you stop and think. You say, okay, did we do a program after Central? Central seems like a month ago.
I know.
And here it was, played a week ago Monday to kick off the season. That week was beating them, I believe it was, 45-6.
Correct.
And it was a sound win, but it was one of those games where you had that Monday-itis type deal.
Yeah.
Both teams kind of looked sloppy on Monday and then getting everybody over the weekend. That's a tough coaching job. You and I talked with Lenny on his show at Cap's Corner, the Coach's Corner. He said that he was very disappointed in the way they prepared themselves for the Monday game. He was not happy with the enthusiasm, the spirit, and then you stop and think about it. And we talked, and I said, well, you're all inspired to play on a Friday night.
Yeah.
You got everything. You're on your way down to the game. You're all dressed, ready to go, and then all of a sudden they call and says you can't play. The field's in bad shape, and it's underwater. So now you got to turn around, go back, put your uniforms back up into your lockers and everything, and then you got to get ready for Monday's game. Now, it rained on Saturday because they had planned on having a practice on Saturday. It rained all Saturday. Rained them out. Sunday, it rained them out. And then go down Monday, it's like, okay, we're going into a game that we think we're mentally prepared for to play the game. Physically, we are, but it just kind of, like he said to you and I, we look sloppy at times, but we won. We won convincingly, but he wasn't happy with the what I call that spirit of the team.
Yeah, no, he felt like, everybody was kind of lackadaisical out there. And, you don't want to ever say this about your opponents, but let's just be honest. Let's call it like it is. Fort Pierce Central isn't the same Fort Pierce Central that we've seen over the last several years. They're not a very good team right now. So Vero Beach ends up winning the game 45-6, but what I love about our coaches is they don't care about our opponents. They only care about us and how we perform. And Coach Jay was not very happy with what he felt like was a lack of effort and a lack of mental focus out there. I mean, look, Fort Pierce Central came out right out of the gate. They squib kick it to us. They get, we muff it and they get the ball and they score real quick. And, you're going, okay. Now, that ends up at the end of the game. That's the only touchdown they ever get. They only get 6 points out of that. So the defense did a great job overall. And, of course, the offense kicked it in gear later and got 45 points on the board. But to start that game, you have no idea. And you're like going, what in the world's going on? Because we start with a turnover. Then we ended up punting the ball away. And it took us, 3 possessions before we finally kind of got things in gear.
Absolutely. And then it kind of came together. But it was one of those games you just shook your head at and said, we didn't play our best game.
No.
We did not play our best game last night and tonight. And remember, you and I were in our post game, and we were talking about it. And I just said, I think Vero's nowhere near peaked out yet. I mean, because tonight, that was not one of their better performances. And you have too many turnovers. You had too many mistakes. Yep. You had just some ill-advised passes and some things that it didn't hurt you because you were better than them.
Yeah.
But you surely don't want to do that against Martin County, or you surely don't want to do that against Treasure Coast.
Correct.
And so you really want to start getting reaching your peak as you go toward the playoffs.
Sure.
And I think they will. I think Coach Jay will turn it around. He did because
I would say so.
he went down to Wellington, and you did that game because I was out in Lawrence, Kansas, doing UCF game, and I listened to you. You did a great job. Everybody banded you. I was doing a UCF. Matt was doing some on a business trip, and
I'm just a lone wolf, man. I'm just a lone wolf.
Yeah, so you were a bandit. I mean, but you did a good job, and I'm proud of you for that, hanging in there. But we played a team, Wellington, that you and I had pre-talked about them not being. They're just a very young team.
Well, and they're a very young team. They had some internal issues going on. Their coach had been there for several years. He left in the middle of the summer. That's like an interesting time to decide to leave, and took a job up in New Jersey. Well, when he left, and this is something that we will see probably more often now. When a coach leaves the team, whether it's by his choice or, if he's been let go by the school, players get attached to coaches. And whenever you have a coach leave like that, with this open enrollment opportunity now, players are going to leave. And that's exactly what happened to Wellington. We heard as much as 41 players left the team and went to other schools. That's huge for any school.
When I heard that, I thought, well, man, is Deion Sanders coaching high school now?
No kidding, right?
Yeah, he let 50 kids go out of his program there in the portal. And with open enrollment, when you lose 41 kids, you lose the heart of your team. I mean, you lose all your quality players, and you lose your backups. And Wellington has won one game, and I believe, and they've lost 5 now. And And they play a tough schedule, and I tell you what, I feel bad for the program. I mean, when 41 kids walk out on your program, it's like starting all over.
Totally,
it's like having a glorified JV team out there sometimes because the athletes you do have, and couldn't start maybe at some other schools.
Yeah, but to your point, Friday night, Vero Beach looked a lot better. They were, and I'm not saying that just because Wellington is, not as good as they could be. You could just see by the overall execution, Gary, Vero Beach came out mentally focused and ready to play. There were some personnel changes, some of it because of injuries. We saw some changes on the offensive line. Took a few series. They shifted some guys around. I think by about the third series, I think they started to figure some chemistry out of which 5 guys worked best out there on the field. And when they did, boy, I tell you what, Octavian Osby in the last 2 ball games now has 5 touchdowns, 5 on the ground. And so that means the offensive line's doing its job. Right, 0 going into those 2 games. So between Monday and Friday, he got 3 on Monday and 2 on Friday. And what that tells me is the offensive line's doing a really good job.
You're well said, and a good point to it. And I think what Lenny did, the final score was 40-0. You're 34-0 at halftime, and you get a score in the first possession. I think.
And I got to tell you, I was a little upset with our kicker too. By the way, I wanted that 35 point.
Yeah, well, yeah. So at 35 points, we get a running clock, and usually you may get 1 or 2 possessions per quarter if you're lucky. If you have been on the other side, but Lenny did a good job of respecting their coach and their program.
Agreed.
I mean, he turned down. He let everybody play, and we only scored 6 points in the second half. And to Lenny, that was okay. That showed a lot of class in my feelings about Lenny, what he did and how he did it. And he knows their program's struggling, and there's no use embarrassing and everything like that.
Right.
So I my hat's off to Coach Jay for that.
Agreed. And he even told us the other night that, usually whenever he's had a game where there's a sizable lead, what he likes to do is he likes to keep his starters in for one series to start the third quarter. But looking at things, he went to his starters and said, hey, look, do you guys want to, I'll give you the option. You want to get out there and play, I'll let you play. But would you rather, let's give our second teamers a chance to get out there and get some reps? And they were all like, no, let's let the second guys get out there. And I don't take that as being lazy. I think that as let's reward the guys who are showing up to practice every day and working hard and give them a chance to get some reps.
I agree. I thought that was a great gesture. I thought it was again, out of respect for his backups and then also for the coach over at Wellington.
So we get that game behind us now, Gary, and 2 games in 5 days. Got to tip my hat to the whole program. I mean, from the players to the coaches. I mean, that's a tough deal. I mean, trying to not only play the game but get the practice in, get the mental reps and all those kind of things in. Especially you get the game over Monday, and then you've only got basically 3 days to get your game plan in for your next opponent. Good job, guys. Really, I mean, hats off to you guys for what you did there. Coming away, you score 85 points in 2 ball games and only give up 6. That's pretty doggone good. So now we get to go kind of back to a normal week, but it's a district game. You got St. Lucie West Centennial. They're 0-6. They've had their own struggles. They had a coaching change. And again, I think we've seen the same thing we just talked about, Gary. You saw a number of players that have left Centennial, so they're kind of rebuilding right now with a new coach.
Yeah, you're right. They are, and it's again, it's all part of high school football right now. It is in college, they have what they call the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. In high school, it's called open enrollment.
Yeah.
And once a season game, opening game's played, then you're froze. You cannot play for another team in high school until after you can go. After the season's over with, you can transfer if you want to go play basketball or baseball at somebody else's school, but you can't play during the season. If you left that time, you're locked in to that team. As well as in the transfer portal in college, they have periods where you can do that, and it's changed the element of the game. It really has. It's just. I mean, you get a coach. Every coach likes to get the good athletes to come in and stay, and they like them W's because it really makes your resume look good and makes you worth more money outside in another school, and so you like those W's. And the problem is a lot of those kids are leaving to go play for coaches that are winning.
Yeah,
they go because they get a lot of. And Vero Beach gets its fair share of open enrollment students.
Sure.
And one of the reasons is these kids want to play for Lenny Jankowski.
Right.
These kids see how many kids are going to college, how many recruiters are looking out there. Lenny does an outstanding job of getting a kid into college if he wants to play.
Yeah, he does. I think we've never really fully talked about this. I've just heard him in other conversations say that, at some point in the season, he tries to talk to all kids on the roster and ask them, what are your goals? What are your aspirations, your dreams? And if they say, I'd really love an opportunity to go play college somewhere, he's going to do everything he can to try to get that kid an opportunity to get a scholarship. There's only so many, high-profile Division I school offers that are going to come to any kid. So, but he does a great job of trying to find a school anywhere. You think about in the last few years, Gary, we talked about like Long Island University. Places like that most times that doesn't ever come up in regular conversation about schools you're looking at.
A Kaiser University down in West Palm Beach, runner up in the NAIA championship last year, has 3 kids from Vero Beach on their roster down there playing football. If you want to play and you got a heart and you're good, when I say good, you start for them and you do a good job, then you know what? Hey, you got a chance to doing it.
Right.
But the game this week, let's get back to Centennial, because Centennial's had a problem of losing kids, as you and I talked about.
Right.
And, Vero has averaged over 40 points the last 2 games. Make it 3 games in a row, because I don't see Centennial slowing Vero down.
No, I think again, this is going to be one of those challenges for Vero Beach of play your game. Don't let your mental focus drop. Don't drop down to your opponent's level.
Yeah, don't play down to his level.
Don't play.
Make him play up to yours.
At this stage right now, I mean, Centennial is 0-6. They've lost, I think, 2 district games now. So they're pretty much by default, they're pretty much eliminated from any possibility of playoffs. But that doesn't mean they can't wreck it for somebody else.
And that's what they would love to do.
Sure.
And they would love it. They would do. But I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think that
not if Vero plays how they're capable.
Yeah, and I think that Coach Jay will have these guys ready because this is, to me, you don't look ahead of any game. You look at this week's game, and there are so many different weapons that we have that we can score with. You got 2 great running backs. You got 4 to 5 good receivers out there that can catch the ball and score for you and make things happen. You got a defense that's only giving up maybe, 6 or 7 or 8 points a game, if that much. I don't even know if it's that much they're giving up.
Yeah.
They got an excellent defense. And so when you put all these components together and when it comes out usually a lot of W's. And and I think this will be another one this week. I'm not trying to degrade Centennial. They're in a rebuilding process, and they know that. And hey, it is what it is. You have to play your district schedule. You can't, people say, why don't we play people tougher? Well, a lot of times we do. I really thought playing Miami Northwestern, they won 4 state championships in the last 12 or 13 years down there. Mm-hmm. That would be a good game for us. We won.
Right. Yeah.
We played Seminole, and Seminole's won several state championships the last few years, and they beat us. So the competition of those 2 games right there alone. Now, grant you, it may not be like we're playing 100 schools. Or 5 schools that are in the top 100 of the country, but we're playing the competition, and is what we have is our district. We have to play our district teams. And last year they were in the playoffs. 4 out of 5 of them made the playoffs. This year, probably only 2 will make the playoff.
Most likely. I mean, there's still a slim possibility.
Martin.
Right. Depending on how things shape up. I mean, look, Vero Beach has got a tough stretch ahead of it. It starts with Centennial, then it's Martin County after that, and then we travel down to Treasure Coast. So 3 consecutive district games for us, and Vero Beach, it's pretty simple math. If Vero Beach can win out, then they've got a district title. They're assured a spot in the playoffs. Where they line up in the bracket, we'll figure that out after it's all said and done. But the main goal right now is go 3-0 over these next 3 weeks. That's the main goal.
That's it. You're starting with this week's game, and you got to start. You got to go up. Yesterday, we were talking to Coach Jay on Tuesday, and he said that he had one of their best practices.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
To come out and say, we had one of our best practices. Now we're looking forward to Wednesday's practice. Good one today, and then you're set. You got a walkthrough on Thursday, and then you travel, or you got a home game, and you'll have a crowd there, and it'll be nice.
Gary, there's also one little extra dynamic that's going to go on Friday night at this ball game. So the coach for Centennial, Coach Toure, from what we understand, he in the previous game was ejected from the game. So he is suspended for at least 1 game. So that means one of his assistants has to take over as the head coach. And it's a name that Vero Nation will be familiar with, Joe Hawkins.
I know Joe. You know Joe.
Yeah.
And, Joe was a center for us several years ago. Went out to Weber State and played out there for 4 years. And he's the offensive coordinator for Centennial.
Yep.
And I saw Joe when our JV team played Centennial.
Oh, did you?
A couple weeks ago. And it was really great to see him. It was really, really good to see him and to come up and give you a big old bear hug and everything. And I wish him the best. I don't wish him the best Friday night, but I wish him the best, as a coach. And He's he's a graduate of Vero Beach High School, so I'm proud of him. I really like Joe Hawkins a whole lot, and he'll do his best.
Of course,
he'd like to beat his old school.
Yeah, and his old coach too.
Yes,
it'll be interesting. So, yeah, just a nice little side note there on this ball game. It'd be interesting to see how that shapes up. But Friday night, we're at the Citrus Bowl. It's going to be good to be back home to take on St. Lucie West Centennial. Game time is 7:00. You can always get tickets at ticketspicket.com, and make sure to get out there. Support the team. It's always a great experience out there at the Citrus Bowl. And if you haven't been out there to see the new turf, you need to get out there, man. It is awesome. All right, we're going to start our coverage on Friday night at 6 p.m. with Countdown to Kickoff. GP, PT, we're inside the press box. As always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the press box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.